and Bits fans. Today we're taking a look at the Tanaka MPF-11 Space Guard. And this is of course their knockoff oversized Takara Starscream. And it's the second product to come from the Tanaka name. The first one was their oversized Sideswipe, which released to mostly stellar reviews. The guys over at TF Direct shipped this to me not long ago. And speaking of shipping, thumbs up to TF Direct for keeping on top of the game when it comes to packaging. Dirty styrofoam box wrapped in sticky tape with corner protectors, thank you very much. But unfortunately with the review backlog it sort of sat at a pile for a little bit. But now it's out, it's here, and let's talk about it. A quick look on the TF Direct website, we can see this guy is about the $80 mark US delivered, which is just really cheap considering his size and all he comes with. In the box we get a pretty decent flight stand with the Sidewinder missiles just painted in a flat silver, which doesn't look particularly good. Looks a bit nasty, really. I don't know many people that really attach these. It's just a bit of a gimmick. Stand also has a Megatron gun clip, but again, like with Robot Heroes, no Megatron gun. It also has a slot here for a Decepticon logo, but I haven't heard of anything being made or customized for this as of yet. And he pegs into his flight stand pretty easily, even with the coronation kit still on. Just get it in there and give it a wiggle. Holds on there impressively well. See, a bit of wobble, but I think the Robot Heroes had a bit more wobble than that. It's to be expected with this much weight coming straight down onto this little point here. Also in the box are the instructions, which are just a straight copy of the Takara. We get his coronation kit. First up, the crown is a very, very vibrant gold, and it's had a wash applied to it to give it a little bit of depth. But unfortunately, it hasn't quite gone to plan. It's pretty thick along here, giving this front nose area piece a different colour to it. And then on this side, I hope you can see it, there's a line just along there where the wash is sort of pulled. There we go. This section here is a much darker browny gold than the rest of it because the wash has pulled on it. And that looks like a massive chunk of red paint has just gone straight across it. Apart from that, all the red around here is applied really well, as is the red on top. And we'll just compare it with the Takara. Doesn't seem to have a wash at all on it, but it's still a much deeper gold. We also have his shoulder armor, which is done better than the crown, although the copper paint here probably could have done with an extra coat, but you don't, unless you're really analyzing it, I don't think you're going to notice. Like, can you see that? The Takara plastic has a very obvious silver speckle in it. There you go, you can see it pretty well there. The Tanaka doesn't have that at all. It is, oh no, it's very slight, very, very minuscule. Yeah, I can't really get that to come up on camera. You just have to trust me that there's a little bit of speckle in there. They might as well not have bothered doing that, really. Even in person I can barely see it. And then lastly, the cape, which is quite heavy. The plastic is quite sturdy as well. There's a bit of flex in it, but honestly I expected much more. The port is still exactly the same, ratcheted. The plastic quality is pretty good. There aren't too many imperfections in it. You have your injection points, which are quite minor. But overall that cape is really well done. Especially when you compare it to the Takara cape, which has some pretty large injection points, and that's actually, where they've snapped it off there, it's left like a gaping hole in each bit, like they've dug out a pimple. When you look at the Tanaka, it's like a little nipple. They've left a little bit, which I suppose you could cut off if you wanted. Now the plastic quality on this guy is pretty good, but it's not perfect. There are a couple of faults that I've noticed. An error with mine is along here with the wing next to these rivets. You can see that the pigment has started to stretch, or the plastic has started to warp or something. It's not weak, it hasn't, so that doesn't flex at all. It's no cracks or damage or anything. There's just this weird smear, and it's the same on the other side as well. Let's see if you can see that there. See? All the way along there. do have some swirling in the grey, but I find that's inherent of this colour. Even the Takara suffers from swirling in the plastic, like especially on the legs down here. Let's see if I can... See, that's not very good either. Look, see the different levels of shine in the silver where some of the pigment has pulled. See, it's not that great. You can see in the wings and the Hasbro have pigment errors there, and there. And the same in this wing, it looks like there's an indent in the plastic, but it's actually where the pigment has gotten lighter. And then in the back of the legs, swirling all through there, swirling all in there, ripples in there, you know, that's, the Hasbro is really bad. And the KBB suffers from the same pigment issues, albeit not as obvious, although these wing flaps are really, really terrible. It looks like they've got dried milk on them or something. But for some reason, it's just not coming out on film. So I can't harp on about the grey pigment in this plastic too much, because it is about on par between KBB and Takara. In some places better than Takara, but I think that's just because the plastic is much bigger and thicker and more spaced out. The grey plastic on the rest of his body doesn't suffer from the same level of swirling as the wings. Thankfully, the blue plastic in the forearms and his hands are done quite well. The pigment is really even, and the same with the red. We do have sprue marks, as with pretty much all MP11s. They're not too bad. They do stick out because they turn white, but they are quite small. Got a couple there just on top of his chest, and just on this section here as well. You may or may not have noticed that Starscream's face is actually different. When we compare it with the robot heroes, you can see it's much sleeker and slimmer and has like a younger look to it. They've made his eyes bigger, his nose skinnier, and the mouth is smaller or slimmer. And when comparing with the Takara head, you can tell straight away that robot heroes have stuck closer to the source material than Tanaka have. Personally, I feel that it does an alright job. All the joints have the same level of tightness throughout. The shoulder joint going in and out is quite stiff, and it holds its own weight pretty well. Same with the bicep swivel, the double jointed elbow. What have we got under here? We have that chrome detailing, that ratchet inside the shoulder. It's one of them push plugs. Same as Takara, same as BB7, Yes Model, KBB, the whole lot. But it is a very nice, strong sounding ratchet, which is very strong. Unfortunately, unlike Robot Heroes who added the peg there, this guy does still suffer from some boob wobble when going up and down. But because the intakes on the top here sit at the correct level, the die-cast piece there helps stop this from going up too far. So it's really not much of a problem at all. We do have the laser pointer gimmick. Mine of mine didn't work at first because the cable inside has actually been squashed. If you can see it, just in there, it's all bent and folded over, and it's actually got some exposed cabling, and it's from this bit here going in and squashing it. A bit of fiddling around with it, and I was able to get it to work. Now, the paint here isn't as thick as it could be, so you do get some illumination coming through the plastic. It's not so bad. It is a cool little gimmick. But anyway, continuing on, Tanaka have their own articulated hand design, which is the same as on their oversized Sideswipe. And what they've done is they've just put a hinge here for the thumb, so it just goes in and out like that. Some people might prefer a ball joint for that. Robot Heroes used a ball joint, and I think that turned out really well. But it's just this one solid piece for a thumb, and the rest of their fingers are much more boxy. Whereas Tanaka have given them a more rounder, sleeker edge. All of these pin joints are super stiff. They're really, really strong. On both my hands though, the pin is sticking out the end. And these fingers are just as stiff. It just comes down to what you like, really. Now the hip ratchets themselves are actually very strong, but they're limited by the hip skirts because they don't move as they're meant to. So if we put it forward, we get 1, 2, like that. And as you can see in there, there is a screw holding the hip skirt on, but it doesn't want to go up any because it's touching this oblique section. So that's as high as you can get it. And then you can go back. I did have it 2. There we go. Back 2. So that's not too bad. The swivel here is as stiff as you would like it, so it's not going to flop about. But speaking of flop, there is a little bit of looseness on one ratchet click in both these legs. One in the upper and on the other leg in the lower. So you do get a little bit of rattle if you give it a shake. The ratchets themselves are still really strong. They just have that tiny little bit of play in it. So this is the upper ratchet, and I've got to sort of put a lot of pressure on that leg to move it, which is good. Oh, look at that. Looks like a big smiley face. Okay. So that upper ratchet is really strong, and the same with the lower as well. I think the lower might be stronger than the upper, actually. So both of them are really strong, and so that's not going anywhere. That's pretty perfect. Also further down, these shin pieces are painted blue and done so quite thickly, but this one, you can see there's just a minor spot there, which is a bit of a sprue mark coming through the paint. And when it comes down to the feet, it doesn't look like they've made any changes from the angle the Takara toes are at. Whereas Robot Heroes decided to change the angle of the front toe and also make it wider. Unlike other KOs, Tanaka have decided not to change anything to do with the connectivity of the torso, but somehow, simply upsizing it has made it much more stable. So if I give it a... See, it doesn't come undone at all. And if we open it up and have a look, you can see that... Now I can't even get it to come undone. Ah, there we go. See that the peg is still quite small, and there's no grooves in there, there's no latches, no anything. And the hole in there isn't any different. Also, the pegs that hold the wings in do so really well. I think they may have extended them or made them thicker. As you can see, they don't quite go in all the way. They take a bit of force to push in. And that's as far as it will go. But it does hold. Alright, it's comparison time, so let's take a look. So there he is with Wei Zhang's MPP10s, and I think the scale is pretty good. Although maybe just a fraction too short. If we compare with the Takaras, we can see where they match up with each other. Stand up. So Starscream's arm comes just under the smokestack right there. Whereas the Tanaka comes just a little bit too short. Only a fraction, but still. And there he is with the awesome Tanaka oversized MP Sideswipe. And I think we can all agree that they've really nailed this scale. They've matched their products together really well. You especially notice the size improvements when you compare the Takaras together. Again, like I said in the Robot Heroes review, Sideswipe just looks like a mini-bot. That is just way too small compared to how are these two meant to brawl together. At that size, all he can really do is punch Starscream in the dick, and maybe that's all he needs to do, really. But still, the Tanaka scale is much better. And the comparison, I'm sure most of you have come here to see, Robot Heroes CG01 oversized Starscream. As you can see, there is a very noticeable size difference. From foot to wingtip, he is approximately 30 centimeters tall, which compared to Robot Heroes, foot to wingtip is about 32 centimeters tall. Alright, so I'm running out of time, and I've nearly finished the video anyway, so let's just quickly get him into jet mode, and we'll have a look at some of the details on that. I'm not going to bother showing the transformation. It is exactly the same as every other MP11 that has ever graced us, so I'm going to skip it. And there he is in jet mode, and he looks exactly as you would expect him to. I'm very pleased to see that the gap in the cockpit is very minimal. The nose cone sits on really well. The gap here is not too bad. The cockpit along here all lines up perfect. That is just absolutely perfect. That's what I like to see. See, the wings tab in very smoothly, everything sits where it's meant to. I've transformed this about 3 or 4 times now, and everything has just stayed really stiff. These wing flaps, they're not loose at all. That one won't even come up actually. Oh, because of the null ray. There isn't a single stress mark or bend or crack in any of that. Tail flaps here are really stiff. That you can listen to that. Listen. See, they're not going to flop around at all. That's fantastic. The null rays sit in absolutely perfectly. They're really, really snug. They're not going anywhere. None of this is stretched or out of proportion. Everything fits exactly how you would expect it to. And then we'll just get him off. Get rid of that. Nothing. That rattle is the pilot. So just taking him out. Nothing comes out of place. Look at that. It's all held together really well. These hands are a little bit funny to get in because no real clear way of how to do it. I've done it with the back of the hands facing outward, but it only just sort of fit. I don't recommend you putting them palm to palm because they didn't seem to fit. I couldn't get these tabs to go in like that. The tabs all sit in well. The legs all sit in well. I will say that this sliding joint here is really, really tight and really difficult to move. So pushing your hand on this bit on the end, it puts you in a little bit of pain. Because grabbing it and pushing it, like I've said before with KOs, you handle them with kid gloves, and this is a delicate joint. You really don't want to be putting heaps of torque and force on that and then have it snap off and that's it, you're stuffed. While I've got it in jet mode and up close, I will just reiterate the plastic swirling. As you can see, it's quite noticeable all over that wing. More so on this other wing here. There, see? And I think it's much more noticeable because there's so much more surface area. When you compare them to the Takara, to Hasbro, to KBB, they're all roughly the same. Takara's a little tiny bit better. So that final question, should you buy this or the Robot Heroes version? And I can't really tell you which one to pick either way. I can't fault Tanaka on its build quality or design or anything that they've customized, you know. The problems with it are inherent of the MP11 mold, so you know, they could have gone a little bit further and implemented some improvements, but they haven't. But it all holds together much better than MP11, and that is the big problem we all wanted fixed. It holds together in bot mode, it holds together in jet mode. It's very, very solid. I think that he fills a void in people's collections who were perhaps not that interested in Robot Heroes and how detailed the Robot Heroes are. They do look amazing. Their price is really good. But next to MP10s and the other Tanaka oversized ones, they're just a little bit too detailed. Do you know what I mean? They stand out a lot more and they look like they're from a different line. It comes down to personal preference. What you like the look of more, what you think is more value for money, and so on and so on. As you may have noticed, the lighting throughout this whole video has been a bit on the shit side. Some of my equipment died not long after I started and I needed to get this finished, so I just had to soldier on through it. And then a couple of days ago I was able to acquire some new equipment and it looks a whole lot better. I even got some LEDs in just for the sparkle factor. But with this new equipment and a bit of determination, I hope to start bringing out more videos a bit more regularly. As I said in my previous video, I do have quite the backlog of review figures to bring out. Just a matter of getting quiet time to record clean audio, really. I just received MPP10H, the Weijang oversized Toy World Throttlebot wide load, and the BB7 upgrade kit for MPP10 original colours. So I'm hoping to smash these videos out pretty quick and bring some more content for you all. If you enjoyed this review and some other ones, please remember to like and subscribe and head over to our Facebook page just to see the more up-to-date news. I do read all your comments and try and reply when I can. I really do appreciate the interaction, the likes, the support, and all of what you guys bring to this for me and for everyone else around us. It's really, really great and it's just a ton of fun to be involved with.